you have joined me wherever you are joining me from this evening. I hope that you will find this evening interesting because I already am thinking that it is very interesting. Just the fact that I have with me Pastor Sherilyn Dublin, it tells me that it is going to be an interesting evening. This is a lady with a story, and eventually we will hear what her story is all about. But I thank you for joining me, and wherever you are, it is my hope that as you join, that you will learn something that will be an inspiration to you, something that will strengthen you, something that will encourage you, and will help you as you push along in your own life's journey. I want to thank Pastor Sherilyn Dublin for joining me on Let's Talk with the Doc. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you very much, Bishop Beckford. Thanks for the invitation. It's good to be here.
All right, it's good to have you. And again, for those who don't know, she's joining me live from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So it's way down south from where I am that she is joining me. But thank God for technology so we can come into your home and wherever you are to make this an interesting evening. Now, I am here to get to know you, know more about you, and some things that others, even others who think they know you, might find something out that they really didn't know. And so somebody will get to know you even more this evening after we have completed this conversation. All right. So tell me, I'm gonna go back to what I don't see on this. I like to start from the beginning. I like to ask people, what was it like in the early life where you started? Family tree, family dynamics. What it has been like in your early days when you get to know the world around you.
Okay, well, I grew up in the extended family. I actually grew under my grandmother. I grew up with grandmothers, uncles, that extended family, so much so that persons thought that I was my grandmother's last child. They wouldn't. So some people would say, "How's your mother?" And I have to say, which one? Because most people thought that her name was Lavinia Morgan. Mrs. Morgan was my mother, but she actually was my grandmother. So I grew up in that extended family. I had the love and attention of aunts, uncles, who took very good care of me, and I gave them, and I thank them very much for putting into my life and for assisting in bringing me up. I had my upbringing was very humble. I
Mhm.
started very humble. I grew up in a part of Kingstown that we call it upstreet. So I like to call myself an upstreet girl. I'm an upstreet girl. And, I often think of what they said of Jesus: can anything good come out of Nazareth?
Well, that's a good
Here
question.
I am from upstreet.
Okay, all right, all right. So upstreet, upstreet in your term, what's the significance of upstreet versus not upstreet?
Downtown. Okay, upstreet is okay. We were in that area overlooking the wharf. It was not one of those. It was not a posh area. It was signified with by a lot of poverty or very humble
Hmm.
living. Also, you had a lot of, but that's where the so-called bad boys lived.
Okay,
So that was the type of persons that were upstreet. So I
okay.
grew up in that area. But interestingly, I never fared living upstreet. I always felt comfortable. I felt safe, as a matter of fact, because even though there was this type of living up there, the older fellas looked out for us younger ones.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So you were actually protected in your own neighborhood.
Protected, that's the word. Yes,
Okay. Uh,
definitely.
well, when you're born and grow in certain area, then there's a tendency you adapt to your surrounding, and you're known in your surrounding. If an outer comes in, then it might be a whole different
The
story.
story, well, that probably that was the case.
Right.
Yes.
Right. What about siblings?
Siblings, I do have, my mother and father were not married, so of course I have siblings on both sides. I have a brother with my mother from my mother. Actually both my mother and father live outside of St. Vincent. My mother lives in Barbados. My father lives in New York. I have a brother with my mother, and they both live in Barbados.
Oh,
My father has five other children along with me. So I have siblings on both sides.
okay.
And
All right.
those of my father live in New York.
Okay. All right. We have a little bit of similarities. I have on both sides to myself, so I'm no
Okay.
stranger to that. So
Okay.
I very much
Right.
aware of that. Okay. All right. So looking at your story, the beginning of it, that you actually become a Christian at the young age of 15.
That's right. Tender
Um,
age. Well, I was not even quite 15 as yet. I would have been 15 at the end of the year, but I gave my life to the Lord in August. I remember the day, I'll tell you the month, the day, the year, the time.
that I can do too.
Yes, because it was VBS, and it was just before the morning break. So I can tell you it's around 11 o'clock on the 11th of August, 1978. So I was not yet 15. But my 15th birthday would have been at the end of the year in December.
Okay.
So it was the summertime. So I was going from Form 3 to Form 4.
Mm,
So I was still in high school.
okay. So what triggered that? What brought it up to that moment?
Wow, we have bad connection. Say that again, Bishop. I didn't hear that one.
What triggered that moment when you gave your life to the Lord?
Yes, it was the person who was here. She was a missionary just visiting to St. Vincent, and she was speaking about what she wanted to be. She had all her sights set on becoming a model and being famous when she grew up, and it just spoke to my own ambition. And I realized how she left it all. And even though she did not become a model, she did not achieve so called greatness, she considered that the best thing that she had done was to give her life to the Lord. And
Mm.
so that is what challenged me to know that this is it. It's not fame, it's not fortune, but it is allowing the Lord to lead you. And this is where I submitted to the Lordship of Jesus Christ and asked him into my life.
And that never changed.
Never changed from 1978. Yes.
Wow. All right. Well, I got a few years. I got a few years on you on both sides, but thanks be to God that you have pulled it through and you made it to where you are today,
Oh, yes.
and it continued to progress, which we will try to explore that in a little bit from now. So you've been fully committed to Christ. I
Fully
know.
committed to Christ, yes. And I gave my life to Christ in a VBS at of the Church of God of Prophecy, and that's where I remained until now.
All right, and like most of us, like most of us in our young days, we get pulled into all departments of the church.
Oh,
That's
yes.
to prove ourselves whether we can handle things. So we go
Oh,
from one
yes.
department to the other.
Oh, yes. Song doing well back then. We didn't say praise and worship leader. We did song. We said song
Some
leaders.
leaders, yeah,
That's
some
right.
leaders. That's what we
So
had.
yes, so I did the song leading. I did the Sunday school teaching. I did the Sunday school superintendent. I usually say I did every department except men's ministries. And as a matter of fact, when we were trying to revive men's ministries under my pastorate at the Shekinah Worship Center in Kingstown, I was yet to earmark someone to fill the position. So I had to eventually hold on there until suitable. So I guess I have to stop saying except men's ministries because I've done that.
Let me just I'm coming right back to that, but let me just invite all our friends who are watching wherever you are, that the power you have in your hand is to share this live stream. Whatever you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, all you have to do is just share this live stream with the public, with all of your friends, so they can join us. Because I'm thinking that this is gonna be an interesting conversation. I'm just building it up so I can get to where I really want to get to. So back to your story about serving in all departments. I was telling one of my pastors that I had on Let's Talk with the Doc not a couple of weeks ago that the only place that I maybe didn't serve as a young Christian or coming up is in the women's ministry.
Okay.
And I have actually we have actually been there as young men as bodyguards.
Yes,
We
yes,
were
that's
called
what we did.
bodyguards. That they
Yes,
said men
yes.
need to come to
Oh, yes.
women's ministry because they're bodyguards. So
Bodyguards, yes. Oh, yes.
all right, so we didn't get a chance to stay home.
Definitely. So, and well, when we were growing up, the bodyguards played an important role.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they recognized it, and they did play their part. They did act the part of bodyguards. So when it was women's ministries, it's not women alone that were there.
Right.
Our bodyguards were always with us.
Right. Because men was sometimes inclined to take the time off because it was women's ministry, and so we were warned or admonished not to stay home because the woman need the man to be around.
Oh yes, oh yes.
You always need a man. All right. So a young Christian growing up, being involved, and then what?
Young Christian, like I said, it was that summer vacation. I'm going back to school, and even when I gave my life to the Lord, I was the only person in the house to be a Christian. And I remember when I left VBS to go home for the evening, because it was a Friday evening, so we were gonna come back to have that graduation ceremony, that closing ceremony that you'd have. And I wondered, how am I going to share? How am I going to tell my grandmother and my aunts and uncles that I'm now a Christian, I've now been saved? And I didn't say anything to my grandmother, but she came to the graduation ceremony with me, and it's at the graduation ceremony she found out that I had given my life to the Lord. You
And,
know,
and was that a challenge, or
well,
were you
it it
encouraged?
it was a challenge in that my grandmother was a devout Methodist.
Okay.
I too was a Methodist, and I had not yet. I think in Methodist they do confirmation, reception. I had not received. I didn't receive membership,
Right.
and I remember my grandmother was adamant that I will still receive membership in Methodist Church. So even though I had begun to go the Church of God of Prophecy, I still had to receive. So she was adamant because and let me tell you the way she said it. She said, just in case anything happened, you know what that meant. I still have
Right.
my church to fall back on.
Okay.
So
Okay. 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 All
yes.
right.
And then when I went back to school, I remember when I went back to school after the summer vacation, and the conversation came up because we would have had carnival in St. Vincent was around the same summertime. So, when we had the conversation,
Mhm.
and I said, well, I've given my life to the Lord. Now I'm a Christian now, so I would not participate in that carnival and so on. And one of my friends looked at me and she gave me 3 weeks.
They always do.
Three
They
weeks
always
to
do.
serve the Lord. She gave me 3 weeks.
Outsiders always give us
Time,
timeline,
yes. So
because they
three
don't think
weeks,
that
yes.
they
So
don't know
much
what change
so
really
that,
means.
yes, 3 weeks. So much so that that was 1978. I got married in 1986. So my first child 1990. So when we were younger in the Church of God of Proxy, we didn't marry with jewelry. We didn't use
Right.
jewelry,
Mm-hmm.
so we didn't wear rings. So
Right.
she was living overseas. She came back to St. Vincent one summer while I was pregnant. I had no ring. So she looked at me and she said, aha, it means the 3 weeks was finally up. I laughed. I mean, I was in the middle of the store, and believe me, I threw back my head and I gave a hearty laugh. I said, "Sweetheart, I've been married for four
Little did,
years
little
now."
did she know.
Yes,
Little
it
did
was
she-
like the 3 weeks is finally up. I knew you would not have held it.
Yeah.
God has
So
been
three
good.
weeks, 3 weeks turned 4 years. And little did she know
Yes,
in
yes,
3 weeks it
yes,
was four
yes,
years.
yes. So the 3 weeks is up.
Um, yeah, we all had, the ring was a symbol that you were married, and
Yes,
water baptism was a symbol that you were really seriously, were serious about Christianity. So they look forward for those two things. So you just said it that in 1986, because I was trying to calculating for myself going backwards, that it must have been about 1986 when you married kids.
yes, yes.
But tell me about the
Marry the man of my
story. Where
dreams.
did you find that man of your dream? How did the dream become reality? What happened? How did you find that man?
That was quite interesting because I remember, dreaming of this guy, and I've never seen the person before. And then I remember those were the days of a lot of street crusades, and the church did come in my area and have crusade once. And so I saw the guy. I said, "Oh, that's a guy that's I usually see in my dreams." And then, I dismissed it because I did not go to the church as yet. But when I went to the VBS, he was actually the teacher, the one who was teaching my class.
You mean in the same time you got saved?
When I got saved in VBS, when I went to VBS, I
Yeah.
was in his class.
So you were dreaming before you got to VBS?
Before I got saved, before I am telling you, and he was literally the man of my dreams.
Oh my goodness.
Literally,
Oh
yes.
my goodness. That is interesting.
Yes, yes. Before I got saved, before I knew him, I saw this guy in my dreams, and I just never saw him before. And then he came up. They came up to do a crusade in my area. I saw him. I said, "Oh, so that's the guy that's dream about." And then I just dismissed it. And then when I went to VBS, I actually was in his class. But no, he just taught me because I mean I'm just here for VBS. And then later on, when I got saved and I joined the church, and then the rest is history. But
That that,
it
that,
took a
that is
while before we
that
became.
is that's a fascinating story, because I am thinking a young girl dreamed about a man of her dream, and she's not a Christian. She went into VBS in her teens. She saw this man who is teaching VBS, and she's not a Christian. He's a Christian, and she's saying, "That's the man that I've been dreaming."
But like I said, I had seen him previously
Oh,
when they
you've seen him
came to do
previously.
a
Okay.
crusade in my area, but
Oh,
he had
okay.
not
Okay.
accepted the Lord yet.
Okay. Okay.
And I just dismissed it because it was just a dream. I
Skeptics
didn't
would
pursue it.
skeptics now would look back and say she went to the church for the man.
No,
That's what they would say. But but
yeah.
but but, but longevity prove otherwise.
Otherwise, because I gave my life to the Lord in 1978, and we never started dating until 1983.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yes. Till
So so what was those 4 years feel and look like to you, as you know what your dream was? He didn't dream the same thing, but you dream
no,
you
no,
what you dream.
we never had that conversation. I don't think
I-
he
I'm
was.
just talking about what was going on in your own mind as
No,
the years rolled.
no, because I mean, back then our eyes were so much on Jesus. It was always about the Lord. There was no,
You're right. You're right
no,
about that.
yes, we didn't. There was no conversation. There was no lead up. There was no boy I hope and all those sort of things. Actually, what happened? We were thrown together on a mission team, a district mission team.
Okay.
And that's where we got more exposed to each other, and we became more and more familiar with each other. And
Okay.
that's when
Okay.
the dream became a
So
reality.
so so the links, the magnet now begin to pull in one direction. All right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I was going to ask, I just reminding all your friends who are watching from St. Vincent or wherever they are, just remember to share. Hit your share button, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook. The power you have is to share with your friends. All right, Minister Cheryl and Dublin is with me on Let's Talk with the Doc, and I am sure some of you are just finding out things that you've never heard before. That's why this conversation is so important.
And you're making me blush, Bishop.
Well, no, no need to, no need to, because open and honest. And I am discovering, and there's nothing, what I would say, nefarious about that. There's nothing nefarious about that. It is
No.
just real human, because I have my own story. And if somebody was talking to me on that level, I would have my own story
Yes.
of how mine unfold. It doesn't matter if this is your story that we're talking about, because and then all that fascination or fascinating experience in that ended up how we never dream it would have ended. And so we're still gonna get there, because one would say, if this was all of God's working, and this was the man of my dream, and how it unfolded, how did this happen? So you're married to this man for almost 12 years. You have two
Right.
kids.
Yes. To
You have a
be
7-year-old and a 5-year-old,
yes.
and then the world turns.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I am telling you. Yes, it was. That's my epoch. Because that is how I judge things now. Before Kitson and after Kitsons, I would
Mhm.
say this thing has been around for over, let's say, 20, how much years now? 22 years. Because Kitson was alive, or it happened, it's less than 20 years because it's after Kitson died. So it became my epoch, the way I judge things like.
Mhm. So before he died, I'm looking at, I'm reflecting on, and who the guy was. I got to know him when I came to St. Vincent, and for those who don't know, those who are young enough not to
Yes.
know that I was in St. Vincent. I
Yes.
was district overseer for St. Vincent, I think
Yes.
92 to 95, somewhere thereabout, and I
Yes.
was district over St. Vincent and St. Lucia. Um,
Yes, he
and
took
and
over from you.
Right, and I left. So that's my question, because when I left 1995, I thought that, in my own assessment, that he was this young man,
Mhm.
coming up in ministry, brilliant, intelligent young man, who I thought had a lot of potential,
Yes, definitely.
and could have climbed to the highest height in
Mhm.
in the island.
Mhm.
And so it happened that after I left, I don't even know what the procedure was, but then I heard he became the overseer,
Right, yes.
and actually was pastoring the church that I pastored,
That's right, yes. He
and
took over from you,
he
yes.
took over from me.
Yes.
And so 95 I left, and 3 years after that, I am getting this shocking news. This shocking news that until now I'm still trying to digest the reality of that. That
Mhm.
that 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 kids in Dublin died.
Yes. Yes, it was a shocker.
So we heard about this meningitis thing. What was it like? Because I'm reading of the viral meningitis and the bacterial meningitis. The bacterial meningitis is more deadly than the viral one. So I'm not too sure what happened. Was he sick for a while, or what?
Yes, he was sick for a while. He was sick for, well, really down for at least 2 weeks. We kept going to doctors. As a matter of fact, one even diagnosed that it was a mental situation.
Oh,
Yeah, so we kept going to doctors. We saw at least three doctors before I actually had to take him to the casualty. And so one said it was mental, another one said there was an imbalance on his brain. So I think because he did not get the proper
treatment,
diagnosis
diagnosis, and treatment.
first. Yes, so he couldn't be treated properly.
Right.
It's not until he became unresponsive at home That was like a Sunday evening. And so I had to call the ambulance. And then when he got to the hospital, and they actually just did a spinal tap, and that's when they discovered that it was a bacterial meningitis.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was looking at the signs and the symptoms
Right. Yeah.
of, and to me, you know, ignorance of things is so dangerous, because if we know what things were and signs and symptoms, then the
Right.
approach
Yeah.
might be
Yeah.
different. But
Yes.
we get caught by not knowing what we are dealing with. And it is unfortunate, as I'm thinking, that the doctors who were attending to him weren't aware, or even to do a checking on the possibility of that. And time went by, because as I understand, I've been doing some little reading on it, that you know, the membrane, the
Yes.
fluid around the membrane that
Right. Right.
goes around to protect the brain and the spinal cord, you know, get bacterial infection. It could begin to create havoc, and all kind of signs and symptoms begin to happen. And you know, I am so saddened to even hear that my brother, you know, didn't make it. But that's me from an outsider, far
Yeah.
away from an outsider. And I
Yeah.
am thinking, I'm looking at an insider, and I'm trying to understand, how did your life go? As a matter of fact, we're calling this meeting a story of triumph, a story of triumph, because your life continued to move,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
How did you deal with that experience when your biggest fear become reality?
Has been realized, definitely. You know, God is so strategic, definitely.
Mhm.
And sometimes God puts stuff in our path, and we just walk it, because I am bivocational. So my second job, because I say my minister of religion is my first vocation. So my second vocation is at a financial institution. And back at that time, 1998, 97, 98, we were changing our computer systems. And so I was one of those who was responsible for training persons. So I was often away. I was in Barbados doing the training. So I would be back and forth to come back to train our people. So, you know, I remember being in Barbados, and I am in this. We had a workshop called Train the Trainers Workshop, and I'm in this workshop, and the Lord is speaking to me and saying, "You are here for ministry." Now, ministry is furthest from my mind.
Mhm.
And the Lord is saying to me, "You are here for ministry." So I come back and I'm training folks, and we're getting ready to change our system, and the burden of that, you know, of training persons, making sure it's up and running and all that, is on me. So in all of this time, and I'm training persons, you know, that one-on-one with staff members become even deeper, the friendship, the fellowship. And so you find that when he passed, I really had the support of the people I worked with.
Mhm.
So they really help me to bear the burden. Also, because I was at a very pivotal part in the bank, I didn't have the luxury of moping and grieving. So I had to like get it over quickly,
Mhm.
and concentrate on the people's job. Because you know it was a new system, and so we had a lot of things that we are still operating on a wait and see basis. So I was at a very important juncture on the job. So it really helped me at that time to take my mind off this stress. I didn't have time to sit down with my hand on my jaw. I didn't have time to sit down and wonder. So being there at that time, that particular time on the job, I had no choice but to get up quickly, wipe my tears, dust myself off, and run along.
You know, that sounds interesting, but at the same time, you're human.
Yes.
You're human.
Yeah.
And while business are being involved and my job requirement became important to my job, if I am useless, then I can't do my job. So the emotional strength. So we other than the job, there has to be somewhere that you draw from in that moment, because the responsibility of your job could be a double stress.
But that is the thing. That's the thing that it was not, and actually, I know a lot of folks may have thought that may think, well, being in church and my church was not, but my church was not my source of strength. Actually, my job, the folks on my job, really they came in more. They were a tower of strength to me, not my church members.
Well, again,
Those on
I
my
don't
job.
I don't want to downplay church members and
Yeah.
that, but the professional skills maybe, and the importance of your assignment, uh
Right.
maybe draw in more support to
Yeah.
you.
I mean, there were a few, and especially when I think of a particular pastor, he has gone to be with the Lord. He really is like, from the time my husband died, he came and he really was there, helping me along to cope. And I can think of a few persons in church that held my hand to come alongside. So
Mm,
there were those, and then of course there were when you're in church and you're in a particular position, sometimes folks do forget about the humanity of you.
right, right.
I remember clearly. I buried my husband the Thursday. I went to church. Went back to church the Sunday, and at that time I was an usher, and I was responsible for like doing the welcome and the greeting. And I remember the moderator coming to me the Sunday after I buried my husband and reminding me if I'm doing the welcome. Yes. I never forget that.
It's incredible how insensitive we can be sometimes, right? How insensitive we can
Yeah,
be.
so I say, even though we are in positions, there is still that humanity.
You are human. You are
Yes, there's
human.
still that
Um,
humanity.
and there are some of us who pretend to be so Christian that we
Yes.
think that once we're Christians, you just things just run off you like oil, like water run off oil, and
Mhm.
don't understand the humanity and the
Oh
fear
yes.
of
Oh
human.
yes. Yes.
As I thought of that this evening, as I reflect on it, and I had my own experience, which I won't share now, but I thought of Job. I thought of Job when all things began to unfold for him. And then the scripture said he did not, blame God wrongfully,
No.
right? And then I wonder, what went through your mind there? How did you feel about God allowing that to happen?
I did go to God. I did ask God, God, I know you, God. You see the beginning, you see the end. Help me to understand. And even if I don't understand, help me to just stay in your will and stay in your plan. And I remember having to travel overseas, and I met this gentleman, and as we spoke, I mean, this was the first time I was meeting him, and I was saying to him, I just buried my husband and so forth, and he was saying to me, it's okay to question God. It's okay to ask God why. It's okay to ask God why. I mean, in asking Him, you're not gonna get all vexed, and you're not going to get you're not going to go outside his plan and his will, but it's okay to ask God why. It's okay to get before God and let him know right now that you're hurting, and that really helped me along the way. And he said, it's okay to get before God. It's okay to cry before God. I have my times. I remember there was this song that came out around that time. And the song said, they don't know that I go running home when I fall down. They don't know who picked me up when no one is around. I drop my sword and cry for just a while. For deep inside this armor, the warrior is a child. I don't remember who's the artist right now, but I always remember that song.
I would even go further than what the gentleman said to you, that because and said it's okay to be angry with God. It's okay to be angry with God. God is not angry when we become angry, because it is human emotions, and the human can express the emotion. Doesn't mean that you're disappointed with God or you're gonna walk away from God, but
Right.
there are unanswered questions, and the finite mind can't fully grasp the infinity of God. And so we sometimes, the emotion comes out sometimes in way, and we learn it's okay to be angry with God. It's okay. God
Yes.
knows how to give us grace and help us to calm down. And I'm glad that he responded to you,
Mhm.
and gave you the courage and the comfort. How did you communicate with your babies, 7 and 5 years old? The
7 and 5.
dad, they don't fully understand that dad is not coming home. How did you deal with that for the next couple of years?
Actually, they did. They did understand. I had a very supportive. Remember I said I lived with aunts and uncles. At the time, my uncles would have migrated already, so it was just my aunts. So I had a very good support system in terms of my extended family. And so my children did understand. They did understand Daddy had gone. They did understand Daddy had gone to be with the Lord.
Okay.
The younger one, she did have some challenges accepting.
Hmm.
Yeah, she did have some challenges accepting. Well, I would think she grew out of it. As she grew, she learned to accept it more and more.
Hmm.
The older one, she still missed that father figure because she would have had more time with
More
him.
connected, yeah.
Right. So she did miss that father figure. She did miss the times of sitting on his lap, and especially when she began school, he was the one who had the responsibility of taking her to school and picking her up from school. So they spent more time together. So she did miss his presence
Right.
and miss
That
that.
that is that is something that one can never get past. I was curious to know, when he was pastoring Bible, who was pastoring Kingstown then?
I think we had some issues there. Some. So just repeat what he said. He just had some.
No, I was asking that when he was pastoring Bible. I know
Mm.
I know you guys were at Kingstown.
Yes, we were at Kingstown because the children were small. So being able to go back and forth with him proved to be a challenge. So
Mhm.
it was simpler. And then also the dynamics of the church in Kingstown. Bishop, our overseer at the time, had requested that I stay in Kingstown because we had a missionary pastor also
Okay. Okay.
there. Sister Saunders was there also. So
Okay.
he had asked me to remain in Kingstown to, work along with Sister Saunders to, build a church and assist her in ministry. But had I gone to Bayabo also, it would have been a bit of a challenge, because children being young, you think of They're now beginning school, and there's homework, and the dynamics of young children, and
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I was just kind of curious about, what was happening there. Okay, so now, time's gone by. You have lived a couple of years in
yes,
the absence of your husband.
God has been good to me.
God has been good to me. I can't complain.
Yeah,
Life
oh dear.
continues. Life continues to move forward. It
Yeah.
didn't become stagnant or it
No,
didn't
thank the
reverse.
Lord.
It
Yes,
continued to progress.
yes.
Um, and so now, 2001, you were officially appointed as the pastor for, now it's Shekinah Worship Center.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
definitely.
And then after a few years, as Shekinah Worship Center pastor, the overseer called you.
Call my name. Oh,
So tell me what happened, because I know back then, most of the times they didn't talk with people of what their appointments are gonna be. They just kind of catch you off guard. Did you overseer have a discussion and you becoming a district overseer, and what was that conversation like? Because I'm curious about
well, the pastorate, like I said, remember back in 1998 when I was on that when I was training for the bank. Remember, the Lord had already spoke to me and tell me, "You're here for ministry." So I mean, you're like, okay, all right. So
But that could be
2001.
pastoral. That could be pastoral ministry, right? We so say, oh
Right.
yeah,
So
that's as high we would
right. So
expect.
when that came in 2001, so I realized that, okay, God had already put that in place. He had already trained me. He had already forewarned me. But I never, because remember, we had this thing with male ministry. We just were given the right to speak in business meeting. You
You're
remember
right.
those
I
days?
remember those days quite well.
Yes. So even though I was in pastoral, I was comfortable because I'm thinking to myself, I don't have to worry about being a district overseer because that will always be a male position. But that was, let me see, I was appointed in 2017. There was a male who was the district overseer, Bishop Davy was there.
Right.
And then, right, he stepped aside. And so Bishop Payne did approach me. Of course, I spoke to the Lord about the whole thing. Um, and so I said, here, my Lord.
So you're there saying, you're making yourself comfortable as pastor for
Yes,
Shekinah Worship Center.
yes,
They're gonna need an overseer
at some point.
at
But
some
you
point,
don't
and
need
you're
me
telling
because
yourself so that I'm not even thinking about it because
no,
first of all, they never have a woman in that
a woman,
position. So
no.
so I am, by virtue of that, I am exempt.
I am exempt. Yes, yes, yes.
And then and
Then,
then and then when you realize you weren't exempt.
yes, and then in 2017, there's Bishop Payne having that conversation with me. I was like, did he notice that I'm a female?
Exactly. So that, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
How
So,
how did you how did
prayed
you how
about
did you
it. And
decipher
we often, we grew up singing the song, I'll go where you want me to go, I'll do what you want me to do. We sang the song because we knew the words.
that? Right, exactly, but weren't really committed to,
Yes,
weren't
yes,
analyzing what are the possibilities of that song.
yes, 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 yes.
Oh
So
my goodness. Oh my goodness.
here am I.
And so now you're appointed as district overseer for St. Vincent. It's I noticed that I don't see St. Lucia on here.
Well, remember we are in a region, so we have a regional overseer. So
Right.
Bishop Edward Payne is still the regional overseer. So His area of oversight is Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada. So all of these others will have their own national oversight. St. Lucia, however, has one church.
Right.
Right.
So when I
So
go ahead.
so it's just a pastor. So
Right.
they do not have a national oversight per se. So Bishop Payne would take that oversight.
So because when I was there, the reason I asked, when I was there, I was discovered for both
Oh,
St.
right.
and
Yes.
Lucia. So I figure more or less there's some change why
Yes.
maybe that is something that the factory is not going to put you under the pressure of going island to island. But I was overseer for both. All
Okay.
right.
Okay. Okay.
So what I am looking. So now you are overseer and you're pastoring. Who's that Bible now?
Bishop John, Lennox John,
John is
Bishop
that?
Lennox John.
Okay, okay.
Right.
So one of what I'm looking at here, right? And one of the reasons why this is so fascinating, and for those who don't know, I didn't know that I was in St. Vincent. I'm looking at this, and I'm watching how things are unfolding. Even me talking to you now, that technically, virtually, you're sitting in the seat that I sat in. But the interesting thing is that your husband sat in that seat or in that office right after I left 1995,
Right. Right.
and in 2017, a number of years later, you
Mhm.
were in the same position. So,
Definitely.
so we have a lot of things in common
Right. Right.
when it comes to that. Now, what has that experience been like for you?
Say that again for me.
What has that experience been like for you?
Has been interesting. One of the things I am overwhelmed, I'm floored, I'm awed by the support of the brethren.
Hmm.
That has been just overwhelming. It just has been overwhelming. The church has been very supportive. Excuse me, and
So,
that has been that has made ministry so much easier.
well, that
One
is
one of the challenges I had when looking at the church is that I find that we were not out there, we were not visible.
good.
And
Mhm.
so when that was one of the tasks that I undertook, to make the church visible. Sometimes you say the Church of God of Prophecy, and a person say a new one again. Say no, it's not a new one. We celebrated 60 years back in 2018.
Right.
Right. So we were little known, so
Yeah.
we've sought to be visible, and I think that we are getting there with our visibility. Um, we are now a member of the Association of Evangelical Churches. As a matter of fact, I've just last November I was awarded by the Association of Evangelical Churches for being the first female district overseer for the Church of God of Prophecy in St. Vincent, and I'm one of the board members on the Association of Evangelical Churches. So we have become more visible. So when you
Mhm.
hear the Church of God of Prophecy, it's not something new anymore.
Okay, that's good news. That is good news. That is good news. To be recognized. Um, so I'm thinking um about the. I've never heard about a disc overseer, a female disc overseer. I've never heard of it. I don't know if you have done any research after you have been asked whether or not you have a company somewhere in Wonderland somewhere. I don't know.
There's actually another in the Caribbean. I think it's a Turks
In
and Caicos Island, Sister Mary Hutchinson,
oh
which is actually my maiden name. Hutchinson is my
oh
maiden name. Yes, there's another one in the Turks and Caicos, Sister Mary Hutchinson. So there are two of us at least in this region.
Okay, okay. So, all right. So that's news to me. I need to do my research a little bit more to find out, if there's a trend coming on here. Now, my next question to you: Do you feel any added pressure? Do you feel any pressure to fulfill that office effectively because of the male dominance over? the centuries, if I would say?
I feel pressure, but it has nothing to do with male dominance. I feel pressure in that, like I said, the visibility of the church. I want to see the church grow. I want to see the church reach its full potential.
Mhm,
Our building,
mhm.
our headquarters in Kingstown. I'd like to see our grandiose structure. I want you to come back to St. Vincent to the Greens and go, wow.
Well, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind that. I
Yes,
wouldn't mind that.
yes. I want to. I want to see our buildings being lovely, being resplendent. So those are the kind of challenges, and those are the kind of pressures. A full-time office where we have secretary, we had administrative officers. So those are the kinds of pressures that I feel, but nothing to do with genders. One of the things that I said to the church, I said, yes, my husband filled this role, but my name is Cheryl Ann Dublin, not Kitson Dublin.
Right. But there is a Dublin. There's still a Dublin.
And when anybody asks me, because the person when they hate Dublin love to say, "Oh, you're from here, you're from there," I usually say, "No, I bought Dublin. I
You do.
married Dublin."
Oh, yeah.
So there's not the intrinsic nature of the Dublin in me.
Okay. All right. All right. So, how many, I know a lot of the guy, well, I don't know how many pastors have gone on with the Lord since I left. I don't know what the status of the pastors are. Yeah, I think when I was there, we had 10 churches, maybe. I think we had
No, we had would
nine
have been
churches.
nine.
Nine churches, right?
I'm not sure if you were there when Union Island. You were there with Sister Saunders, isn't it? You were there with Sister Saunders.
I think I know about Union. I think about.
Right. So we had Union Island. So we lose Union Island and Lomans have been disbanded.
I remember
So
Lomans.
we're down to seven. So we reached as far as nine. So we're down to seven. With
Okay.
seven churches.
So maybe that's a little bit of pressure to kind of build back up.
That especially the one in Lomans, yes, because there are some former members of Lomans who they go to the surrounding church. Some would go at Bible, some go at Connery, and so they're still looking forward to us coming back into Lomans. And just recently, our late last year, when the COVID pandemic had just started, we went into Lomans and did some work. We did some um, I forgot, like crusades and some rallies in Lomans. So we have not forgotten about Lomans. We actually had a crusade earmarked for Lomans, but the government has restricted open amplified sound in the open air. So that's why we have not gone back into Lomans yet, but we
Mm.
had earmarked.
So
So
you're gonna have to go back to the old church system of house to house.
house to house, yes, definitely. Um, and even the area where we had church, there was some controversy over it because persons would give lands, but they did not give a deed, and after they die, and because you have no deed, the person who spring up beside, no, it's not yours. So there was some controversy where that was concerned. So
Yeah,
the building,
that is a church problem when we have the good-minded people who are dead and gone, and then
yes,
leave the church at a disadvantage because the family
yes.
members might not have the same inspiration to do that. My wife is just responding saying, "Wonderful to see a female overseer woman ministry as much as men. Thank God. May God bless your ministry." And I would say the same thing. How many female pastors you have in St. Vincent?
We have three now. There's Pastor Shelley and Tony, and then there is Pastor Jacqueline Samuel. So Pastor Tony is in Richland Park, and Pastor Jacqueline Samuel is in Belair.
Belair.
Yes,
I remember Belair. That's where Sister Bynum was.
Byam.
Yeah, Bynum was in Belair.
Yes.
Um, I forget some of the church places now, but But it's interesting. So how are things going in how are things going with your family now that children are
Children are grown and gone.
grown and gone?
Grown and gone. Actually, my older daughter, she's married. I'm a grandmother too. I wear that
Oh,
hat with pride.
oh, good for
I
you.
have a grandson and a granddaughter.
Good
Oh,
for
I should
you.
say granddaughter and grandson because the granddaughter is first. Yes. So I am a grandmother too, and that is the hat that I proudly wear.
Good
Um,
for you.
and the younger one, Alina, she is presently in Texas. She's studying in environmental science.
Okay.
She should be through with her master's by May. She's graduating, so she's on the countdown. She's on the home stretch. So we're
Mm-hmm.
praying that Father open doors for her.
Wow. I am so thrilled. I am so thrilled to have you and to have you joining me, and especially thrilled because I am not a stranger to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
No, no, no,
I
you're
am
not. No, you're
so I
not.
can I can actually have hands on in some
Yes.
of the things that I talk about that speak from experience. Jesus talk about when we testify our testimony is true. Let me ask you before we wrap this up. How are things going in St. Vincent with the disease, the virus? I think not too long ago I heard that there may have been signs of dengue fever. Is
Yes,
that still there?
yes, yes. The dengue fever, actually, while we were dealing with COVID, and even prior to COVID, we were dealing with dengue. We have had 8 deaths from dengue.
Oh
The last
wow.
number I heard were in excess of 1,500 cases for dengue, and we've had 8 deaths so far. We're battling COVID. So far, the cases in COVID has been close to 1,700. We've had 1,681 cases thus far. We've had 9 deaths. Thank God that persons are recovering right now. Of the 1,600 cases, the 1,681 cases, we only have 168 active cases.
Hmm. Okay.
Right? So our numbers are going down for the past couple of days. We've not recorded. I think the last figure I heard from Monday, we did not record any new cases. I didn't listen for today, but I know on Monday we didn't record any new cases. With the vaccine is there. We've been given vaccine. We've done over 8,000 persons have had the vaccine. Yes, truly have had her first dose. Yes,
Good
I've
for
had
you.
the first dose.
Congratulations.
Yes, gotta lead the way. Gotta
Good
lead
for
the
you.
charge.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, gotta
And
lead
now
by
that now that
example.
now that you're on air saying that with me, that is wonderful because I've had my 2 doses, and so I am all set, and I'm glad to know that you have your first dose. So those who are listening and watching, and by the way, brother, Minister Dr. Kenrick Semple is watching and is excited about your ministry as overseer. So you have support from outsiders and
Yes, yes,
so
yes,
not
yes,
only the
yes, yes.
insiders.
I, I
Um,
listened to the good Dr. Semple earnestly,
you're right.
and I hope he's listening. I have
He is
had
listening
the
right now.
first dose of the vaccine, and come May, I am scheduled to take my second dose in May.
In May?
Yes,
How far
yes.
apart? How far
Because
apart?
6 to 8 weeks, they said. But
Really?
because we right now we have 40,000 doses, and we're trying to get at least 70% of the population to be vaccinated. So
Each with
this
one
is
dose.
the first instance, the first set of vaccines that we have.
Okay.
So we're trying to get as much persons as possible to take their first dose.
It would have been great if they get the Johnson and Johnson, where it's just one dose, which is covered
Oh,
up rounds in a short time.
yeah.
So have they gotten a grip on the dengue thing? I'm so saddened to hear that
Yeah,
some.
I am not hearing much more about it, and because there's a lot of there's a lot of work being done in terms of eliminating the breeding site of the mosquito. So there's a vibrant program being on. So I'm not hearing much more happening where the dengue is concerned. I'm not sure if it's that COVID is overcrowding the dengue. So
Mhm.
I think we have a grip on the dengue. We also have the volcano that is acting up.
That's the other one that I wanted to ask about. I'm glad you bring it up
Yes,
because I
yes.
think I didn't write it on. I forget.
We're still having effusive eruptions, and that is just let's say belching and burping and
Oh
but
boy.
we've not had any violent explosions as yet. Of course, the scientists can't tell you if and when,
Mhm.
but because it is just bubbling, just oozing. There's no buildup.
Okay.
So
So
it is very
they can hear the sound in the distance that it's rumbling and trying to
so
make up its mind.
yeah, something like that. There's no, we don't hear the sound. It's just giving off. So you're not hearing. There's no
Yeah,
there's
I know the scientific,
explosive.
terminology that they're hearing the
Yes,
bubbling somewhere.
right.
No, I know when I was there, there had been an eruption maybe a few years prior to me being
Right, in 1979. That one
right,
was explosive.
right, and
And
you
that
have had one since that.
no, we've not had any since then. We had to move persons out of the orange zone, the danger zones.
Yeah.
Persons who are beyond Barley up to Richmond and beyond Bayabu, on the windward side had to be moved to closer to Kingstown, out of that danger zone. But we've not had an explosive eruption since then.
And I hope you don't, because when I think of St. Vincent, I think of downtown
Yes,
Kingstown,
Kingstown. Yes,
under, just right
it,
under the volcano. I remember the old ashes covered
yes,
everywhere.
1979.
So
We had ash flow. We had ash reaching to the Grenadines. We had ash reaching to Barbados.
wow.
Yeah, yes, we had ash falling in Barbados. Persons told us that the ash cloud would reach so far up that it would fall all in Barbados.
Well, I think I see Silma somewhere here saying that the dengue has decreased, which is good news. And so far you guys are getting a grip on. Is mask prevalent in St. Vincent or
Yes, yes, and it's mandatory. Mass
what?
is
Okay, good,
mandatory.
good.
Actually, you can be charged if you're
Okay,
not wearing one.
that's the way to go. If you want to
Uh,
get a grip on this thing, that's the way to go.
yes, and we have mass gatherings protocol indoors for churches. We can carry up to one third of our capacity
But and still mask.
and still mask. Yes,
Okay, well that's good. That's good because the mask does a whole lot, and that is just good news all around. Good news all around. I'm so thankful for having pastor, minister, and now I'm gonna use the big word, uh, overseer Sherrilyn Dublin, and that's why I made a reference of breaking the glass ceiling.
definitely so.
And I must say it is also Women's Month.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes,
It
International
is
Women's Day.
Women's Month, and I
Yes,
am delighted to have you sharing with me about your story. I am still in awe of the death of your husband. I am still in awe how you have persevered through it. I have a lot of respect for you that you, instead of you falling apart, it seems like you've gained strength. Because the Lord is on your side.
oh, definitely so.
And when the Lord is, and by the way, let me just reflect on your dream again. Let me just reflect on your dream of what your dream husband was going to be, and you marry your
Yes.
dream husband, your literal dream husband, and 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 down the road, in all of that, God saw in the long run the
Yes,
time you would have been together and what your life would have become when he was gone out of your life, and somehow he has provided the needed graces that you could still
yes,
go
yes,
on And I must say, Kitson would have loved to see you now, all those years gone, and still see how young and fresh you still look.
It's,
Congrats.
the grace of God has truly been an ornament towards me. God has kept me, has done. I say to folks all the time, God is showing off on me.
All right, all right.
Yes.
If anybody have a question before we wrap this up, this is your chance to ask Pastor Overseer Dublin a question. If you have one, you can submit it right here, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. You can submit your question. I'll ask her it before I say goodbye to her. I am so happy to have her, and this is Let's Talk with the Doc. And by the way, if you haven't yet shared it, if you haven't shared it yet, you can still share it, because even when the program is finished, others can still watch it. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask it to Pastor Dublin. I'll be more than happy to have her respond to whatever question you ask. I don't know if you can see questions from her side, but what is this sitting here? All right, so let me see. Is there any question here? No one doing here. All right. Again, I can't see what's this. I don't know what this thing is. Just sitting like that. Okay. Anybody want to talk to Pastor Dublin? Also,
Apparently not.
how were the kids when their father passed? Okay, so the question is actually coming up front here. All right, good. Diana Beckford, my wife asked that question. I think
Okay.
this when we were talking about that.
Okay, say that again, Bishop. I had some
So
technical.
my wife is asking how old were the kids when their father passed?
How old were the kids?
Yeah.
Yes, 7 and 5. My children was 7 and 5. They had the second one had just started school. It was in a first year of school, primary school, and the first one was in her third year of primary school. So there was 7 and 5 years, pretty young still.
Well, I'm going to tell you what she just said, because she been admiring him. She said he was such an handsome young man. So,
So I'm sorry, I'm having some technical issues. I'm not sure if it's my internet. We
it
were having
and
some
it may be
Yeah,
acting.
we were having some internet problems at church earlier, so it could
Okay,
be.
so she was saying he was such an handsome young man.
Say it again.
She was saying he was such an handsome young
Yes,
man.
yes, yes, yes. He was. He was. He was. He was. Definitely was. Yes, yes. He was definitely
Goodness.
a handsome. I remember one of my co-workers earlier used to call him Sweet Face. He had a sweet face.
Sweet face. Yeah,
Yes,
I know the brother quite well, and he had everything that would, that were going for him. It was going for him good.
yes.
Uh,
He did have a lot of things. Singer, great singer. Skilled with the handling the word.
right.
Yes,
Yes, I remember Kitson so well.
yes.
Pastor Kenrick is asking, are there any plans for Sandy Bay?
Sandy Bay. Oh yes, we had a mission in Sandy Bay. Not right now. Not right now. One of our challenge has been indigenous leadership, rising up leaders among us. So we're still grappling and grooming the ones that we have, because we among us we have an aging. We have some of our pastors who are aging, and we find that a lot of young people are not coming forward into the ministry.
Yeah,
So leadership.
that is a crisis everywhere.
Yes, so we've not gone back into that. We had a mission in Sandy Bay. Actually, it came interestingly. It came out of that church, that work we started in Union Island. Um, so we were not able to revive the ministry or the mission there in Sandy Bay.
Hmm. Well, Overseer Cheryl, Sherilyn, it has been my pleasure to have you with me. I thank you for spending this time and getting me into some of the very private things of your story.
Well, they're not private
Story.
anymore.
Well, again, there's nothing wrong with it. We're just kind of talking openly.
Yes, yes.
There was nothing wrong or nothing to be ashamed of or embarrassed of. As a matter of fact, there is more to be proud of than anything else, because I am still in awe that a young girl who wasn't a Christian had a dream of what her husband's gonna look
Yes,
like,
that's amazing. That's how God works, you
and
know.
went to church and saw the man she dreamt
God,
of,
that,
that and now he was a Christian and she wasn't, and she eventually became a Christian 4 years after she married the man. The man was still hanging around waiting for her because he was designed to be.
yes, 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 yes,
To
yes.
God be
That's
the glory
how
for
God
all.
works. I am telling you, I've seen the hand of the Lord on my life
God,
all the way, all
God
the way.
bless you. God
I
bless you.
just thank God for His grace towards me.
God bless you. I wish you the best in your ministry in St. Vincent. And I hope the Lord provide you the help you need,
Yes,
the resource you need, so
yes,
you can fulfill your aspiration and what your next dream is, what ministry will become and what St. Vincent will become. And I hope that dream becomes
yes.
a reality
A reality, definitely.
as your first dream.
Yes, 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 definitely so.
May God bless
Definitely
you,
so.
and thank you so much. And if there's anything that I can do to support, I hope one of these days I'll come back to Saint Vincent. One of these, I'm still hoping that one of these days I'll come to Saint Vincent for.
Yes, Bishop, we're looking forward to be to having you and hosting you once again. You'll get back here. Just
I
this
I
pandemic is over and we start to fly again. Oh yes.
maybe now maybe now I'm beginning to dream and see what my dream will become.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please say hello. I think your kids are have been watching somewhere, and I'm giving a shout out to them because I'm so proud of them that in spite of the loss of their father, that they were able to still climb the ladders of success and able
Yes,
to
thank the Lord. Yes.
come to adulthood and to have gotten their own lives together and is still progressing. May God continue to bless you and your children and you, Pastor Dubbin, and your children and grandchildren. And I
Grandchildren,
hope
yes.
I hope you live to see great grand. It's a big ask, but I
Yes,
hope to see
yes,
great grand,
yes,
right?
yes.
So I hope you're looking good, like you have a lot of years as long as you take care of yourself, that you'll be able to see grand and great grand
I am
and great
praying
great.
the Lord. My grandmother got to see her great grand. So I'm telling Father that. I'm saying, Father, my grandmother who raised me got to see her great grands. Her first great grand, well, her two, because I was her first grandchild. So she was there for both Alyssa and Alina. She actually died after Kitson. She died about 12 years ago.
Mm.
So she got to see her great grand. So I'm praying the Lord that I
Good,
get to
good
see
for
her.
her. I hope you do. Maybe somebody want to give some help. I don't know. It's better. Is Elvis Williams in Overseer Dublin?
Yes,
What,
that is
what?
Bishop Williams from Trinidad.
Also, so here is what Bishop Williams from Trinidad said. Overseer Dublin, what would you say are some of the critical needs of the Church of God of Prophecy in St. Vincent to take it to the next level? I am going to assume that Overseer Williams is ready to pull in and to give
Oh,
a.
definitely. I know I can count on Bishop Williams. He is a Vincentian also, so no problem. Yes,
Oh, okay.
our buildings.
All right.
Yeah,
All right. All right.
buildings.
Great. Great. Great.
Definitely.
Great.
Our
Well,
buildings.
thank you, Bishop Williams, for joining me. I hope that you share this with your friends in Trinidad and around the Windward Island so that they can get to know some things that I just found out about over here in Dublin that they didn't know. Right? And I'm not going to tell them. They're going to have to watch the program.
Watch it.
Right? And by the way, if you are not following me on Facebook or you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I encourage you to do that. I also have a podcast, which is Grace Without Borders. That's available on all podcast platforms. I encourage you to stick with me because you never know who is going to be next on Let's Talk with the Doc. Thank you, Overseer. Boy, I have to say that with some authority and some conviction. Thank you, Overseer. You have broken the glass ceiling and you have set the pace for many. And I think the trend is changing, because especially with the young men are not aspiring to go into ministry, and
Yes.
we're gonna have to saddle the women and let them go do ministry, because they have the passion and they have the drive, they have the intelligence, they have the commitment, they have the skills and the ability. And so God bless you. I'm looking forward to a bright future for you, and I hope I'll hear as it unfolds.
Yes, definitely. So good to have you, for you to have me on their program. God bless you. I thank God for His grace towards me and all that He is doing in my life. All I want to be is submissive to the will and to the plan and purpose of God.
God bless you at Shekinah Worship Center,
Yes,
and your bigger ministry, and your
yes,
bigger ministry.
yes.
You have it on your hand, but you have the skills, you have the commitment, you have the humility, you have the dream and the vision, and I hope that God bless you with the resources to make it become a reality for you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bishop.
One of my thoughts is, just like you are not dead until you stop breathing,
Yes,
your dream is not dead until you stop dreaming.
yes, definitely. Yes,
So keep on dreaming. Keep the dream up.
yes, yes, yes.
God bless you. God bless
Thank
you.
you very much.
And
I'm grateful for the privilege.
take care of yourself. This is Let's Start
Okay,
with the
thank
Dog,
you.
and this is
God bless you,
Bishop
Bishop.
Orville Beckford. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining me.